You're with Julian on the Brown Notes and a review of Rebel Ridge, one of the IT films this year from Jeremy Saulnier, who's got an interesting short track record. Particularly the film Blue Ruin, which got a lot of acclaim about this drifty guy that embarks on a revenge mission. And Green Room, which was the one that had Patrick Stewart as a Nazi. Another fascinating film where a group of 20-something who are in a hardcore band are out of money and take a gig at this Nazi festival and it all goes to hell. I didn't see Hold the Dark. I feel like I should have. But Rebel Ridge, which I think is straight onto Netflix. Don't think it got a cinema release. Yeah, it was Netflix. Has got a great deal of acclaim. And I particularly like it because it reinvents the wheel, which a lot of films don't ever attempt to do when they're doing a very strict genre exercise. And this one is one of the most overdone, particularly in the B-movie world. I guess the first preeminent one was First Blood. And they're films where a drifter will come into town, be extremely tough for some reason, very silent and brooding, and come into conflict with the local businessmen or the local law enforcement, all the way through films like Roadhouse and Out the Other Side. And I enjoy watching that genre, but most of them have the same things wrong with them. And we've seen plenty of films where they've got very lackluster leads in those roles. We've seen plenty of Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme takes on this. There have been hundreds and hundreds of films made in this mark. But even though this film does end up at the end at the same finishing line, the route it takes to get there is so good. I'm going to start this by saying something that is always fascinating to me. Do they not have any black male actors in America? Because every time I see a young black male actor in a movie in America, they're British. And this guy actually replaced another black British actor. Yet it's set in the South in America, and you would think there'd be plenty of local actors that would be in the market for a film, but they always seem to cast British actors. I guess it's the same with young-ish sub-40 women in films often end up being British. I really don't know whether that is a good thing or a bad thing. Aaron Pierre, who hasn't been anything as major as this and has really made a name for himself now, he's on his way through to the courthouse in a very small town to post bail for his brother. He's of the opinion that his brother is being sent to jail where he will face immediate death because his associates will just take him out as soon as he's there. So it's a very, very urgent mission to get there. And he's pulled over by racist cops that do the whole usual scenario around him in a car, which causes him to lose his money corruptly. As we find out, there's more interesting paradigms around why they confiscate his money, which is apparently legal, but puts him in a bind. And we then find out that he's got a really weird past. Normally these people are Black Ops SEAL agents, but this guy's got a military background that makes him incredibly physically tough. But he's actually only just really trained in jiu-jitsu. And he's able to, take out people quite easily. But he didn't serve in the war or anything like that. He was just a trainer of physical combat for troops. He comes into contact with an outstanding Don Johnson, who's the local chief of police. And we come to understand that this town has an enormous thing going on with corruption, that they've had their budgets slashed for the police. They're the last police organisation for any of the small towns around them, have all closed their police stations for financial reasons. So they've enacted these policies where they will regularly confiscate money to pay themselves. It's not even like they're making millions out of it. And we also find out that the brother, there are serious questions as to why he was in jail. There wasn't really the reasons for him being in jail in the first place seem to be very odd, and they work out that there's a lot of young men, usually young black men, that have gone to jail for 30 days. And often with very, very tenuous reasons for them being there, which is part of the story as well. And we also get Anna Sophia Robb, who's one of the courthouse assistants, who's not someone I'm familiar with in films before, which I'm sad about. She was in Jumper. Yeah, I don't know many of the films that she's been in, which is sad, which I can't believe that I've actually missed them. She helps him. So basically he gets into bigger and bigger conflict with Don Johnson's character. The way it pans out isn't the standard way at all. And neither of the performances, neither is the quality of the writing, the cinematography and the sound and everything is a much higher quality than these B movies normally get. And it's being one of the most acclaimed films of the year. I think one of the areas where it excels is the screenplay is often surprising in the direction it goes, where things happen and you don't quite know where it's going to go. That's one element. Another is really strong background characters, the way they're drawn and performed. Don Johnson just made me think, why isn't he like a regular? We saw him in Knives Out playing a bit of a bumbling oaf. He was excellent in that, but he is so straight edge and on point as a police chief, and all these characters have a lot of complexity to them as well. That you just think, why isn't he in more films? He's probably better now than he's ever been. Aaron Pierre is fantastic as the brooding, menacing lead guy, who isn't an indestructible titan, which makes these films very, very boring when no one can beat them. They obviously can beat him. He has to use intellect to plan and to get around various scenarios that come his way, and he's very, very strong in the lead. I think that Anna Sophia Robb is the star of the show. Her character as the court clerk could have been such a non-entity female shoe-in side character, but she's got so much range to the facets that make up her character, to do with addiction and losing her child and the way that she helps the lead character. So yeah, it's a fantastic out of nowhere film. And really, other than being too long, I think 20 minutes could have been shaved off, because it's nearly 2 hour 20 minutes. At least 20 minutes would have helped the film become a lot more focused and, without any fat on it at all, because it does drag a little bit and it does repeat similar scenarios a few times. But that's really picking at very small points in the film. I do think it's overlong, and I do think that some of the scenarios seem to be repeated a little bit. But overall, it's a fantastic film and one of the year's best. So I'm going to give Rebel Ridge a very solid 8.5 out of 10.